On the first video of this series, I introduced to you your financial game plan, the tool that I created that helped me pay more than $20,000 in debt this year alone. If you haven't checked it out, I'll leave it on the cards or in the description box below as well if you want to go back into it and also get your hands on the file. Let me introduce myself. My name is Luce and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, I love documenting my adventures, whether from hiking mountain peaks or traveling around the world, all of that while also working on my financial wellness. So if any of that resonates with you, please feel free to stick around and subscribe to the channel. If you did your homework, let's say, and you started recording every transaction since the beginning of this month until now, then hopefully we should have some data that can tell us if there's any emerging patterns or if there's emerging categories from our spending, and hopefully continue to get more data throughout this month that can help us predict a budget for the next month. And it's a sort of a hands-on thing. It's going to be a weekly check-in, okay? And finally, we're gonna go into my favorite part of the tracker, which is your charts. It is basically an eye-bird's view of your finances in the current week that you're doing the check-in. So it's going to have a list of all of your assets, all of your liabilities, and from that derive what your current assets total is, your current debt total is, and then have a basic math equation of assets minus liabilities giving you your total net worth. And so for me, during this debt payoff journey, there hasn't been a biggest motivator than seeing my progress plotted on a beautiful chart, seeing my debt total go down so consistently throughout this year is what has helped me continue to just pay off more and more and more every month, and just continue to make progress towards my goal. And I'm sure there is something that says that what gets measured gets accomplished or something. What is that called? I'm really bad at this, I guess, because that happened last time. But for sure, when you track something, you definitely are going to be making some sort of progress, because I don't think that if you see that you set yourself a goal to pay off a certain amount of debt, and then you see that chart climbing up instead of going down, that you're going to continue to do the same behaviors. And so for sure, it's one of my favorite things in the tracker. And so yeah, with that, let's get started. Actually, I wanted to say, do make sure to sort of set up the ambience for you. I have myself a coffee. This is the second cup of coffee. I'm going to grab my lighter and light up my candle, and then this is my me time, and I'm just I love this. At the end, it turns out like a game as well. So just learn to enjoy it. Do whatever it is that will make you actually sit down and do those weekly check-ins. And yeah, do things for yourself. Let me show you my Christmas tree. Right there. Looks so cute. So that's the vibe that we want. All right, let's go to the Excel tracker. And so, like I said, if you didn't watch the first video before, I'll leave the link in the description so that you can see what the introduction is for this two tabs here. But for today, we want to tackle the charts part. And as I was saying, this one is basically going to be a list of all of your assets right here. So anything that is sitting in your checking accounts, in your savings accounts, high yield savings accounts, any type of investments that you have. And if you have any other assets that are actually acquiring value, so things that are appreciating, like your equity in a home, for example, or in a business, or anything else that is of actual value. I have a car, but I do not consider that as an asset because it's already a very old vehicle. I'm not looking to. Actually, I wouldn't be able. I mean, I could sell it for some money. I'm not looking to sell it, and I also just don't consider that a huge amount into my assets. So I'm not going to consider that because it actually is going to be depreciating year after year. But if you do have a car that is appreciating with time, like those classic cars, then you could probably add that on here. So the idea is to have any of your actual assets listed on this first top part of the tracker. And then on your next section, you want to list all of your actual debts or credits that you have to pay. So, for example, as I mentioned, I use my credit cards for paying off my buying my food, for example, and then I know that I need to pay that back as part of my budget allocation for food. And so those, I just want to make sure that I know how much I owe week by week, or how much is accumulating, or how much I have paid off from what I owe. Sometimes, what I like to do instead of waiting for the month to be due, I like to pay off as I go. So, if I made a purchase for food, I like to go in and pay it right away, or maybe wait a week or something like that. It just allows me that to know that I am paying off for my food rather than just continue to make more expenses. I don't know. That's just how my brain works. The money that I use for my credit card, I just go in and pay it off right away if possible, like that week or that day or the week of my check-in. And so that's why I have them there. Um, and other debts you may have. So if you have a car loan, personal loan like I have, I also have student loan, or if you have any credit card debt like I used to have, you could just put it here as well. So anything that is a liability, basically. It's probably, I think, a mortgage, loan falls into that. Um, but basically anything that is taking away from your asset growth. And so with that is basically a simple math equation where you would have all of your assets minus all of your liabilities, and this will give you your net worth. So this is just the list of information of what you need to enter here on the weekly checkpoint. So this one has the beginning of the month. So I think, what was that? For fourth, that was a Wednesday. So if you do your checkings on Wednesdays, or if you do them on Fridays, just feel free to change the dates here, and you can just drag it along to adjust the dates that you're going to be doing the checkings. So this is just the month for December so that we can get some data that can help us predict how to do the budget allocations for the next few months. So you would enter basically if you have, let's say, $2,000 in your checking accounts. And if you're like me and you have multiple different checking and savings accounts, then you would have two different lines here. If not, obviously, just go ahead and delete it or include more if you need to. So let's say that on the second checking account, you have $500. And so that's basically your checking account money. On savings one, let's say that you are saving for a trip to Southeast Asia and you currently have $1,000 there. And your other savings account is maybe a house savings account for like a down payment, and you have $10,000 in there. Your third savings account is your emergency savings account, and let's say that for now you have $8,000 in there. That is your 3 months of living expenses, basic living expenses. And yeah, the next ones are investments. So if you contribute to a Roth IRA, or if you have an individual investment account, or both, however you want to, you can split this too. Or let's just make it as an example. So you right click on the line, you insert, And then let's say that this is going to be your individual uh, brokerage account. And then this one on the top here, it's a Roth IRA. If you're unfamiliar with those terms, let me know so I can make a quick explanation, or also leave the links of people that have done videos on that are more knowledgeable, or at least more articulate in explaining these types of accounts. And so let's say that this one, you actually have $6,000 sitting in there. And on your individual, you only contribute to this as of like extra money that you want to. So let's say that you don't have that much money in there. So you have $1,000 in there. If you have a 401k, so if you have a W-2 job, you are likely, maybe, but a lot of the W-2 jobs have a 401k contribution for a retirement, and many of them also offer a certain percent match. So if you have that kind of job, make sure that you're contributing at least the percentage that they will are able to match, to 50 or 100%. So that's basically free money. It's just additional money that you're getting into your savings, for retirement, that is not coming out of your pocket, it's coming out of your employer's pocket. So take advantage of that if you can. Let's say that you've been working for a few years already and you have somewhere like $20,000 sitting in your 401k. And for venture and American Express, let's say that you have an outstanding balance of 500 and maybe like 800 here for the recent purchases. For your personal loan, I'm gonna put down how much I have. So it's like 900 here, and my student loan is 4,000 something. And so you basically want to do this for all of your different accounts that you have, so that at the end, if you see these numbers, just make sure to double click here so that it expands completely. So that's going to be filling in this information here. So in green, you have your total assets. So that's going to be, if you double click on it, it'll show you what's actually being calculated into your total assets. So if you do make any adjustments on here, make sure that this is dragged down to account for those assets that you have. And so the same thing goes with the liability. So it'll take all of the liabilities that you have and then subtract the assets minus liabilities to give you your total net worth. So in this case, it's a positive 33K. And yeah, so that's how this is going to be working for you. The other thing is these emergency funds. So here it accounts for these two savings. So we're saying that this is your emergency. The 8,000 in the example was the emergency savings for your 3 months of basic living expenses. We had mentioned that this line would be like a house savings for a house payment. Uh, you could have it included in there or not. If you don't, you just drag it down, and then we just include that we only have one account for emergency savings. If you're like me, I have at least two for emergency savings, but that's how you would adjust it. So that is the total of my emergency savings accounts for the 3 month living expenses. Feel free to adjust any of these descriptions and sales that fit you. Travel. So let's actually make it easier right now. Let's say that this one is actually my travel savings account. This one is like house down payment savings, and this one is my emergency fund savings. So for my travel savings, now that I have an account assigned for travel savings, I want to add that this is just the sum of um, only this one here. Okay. But if, for example, I have another account that is also travel, but only travel for travel savings. Let's call this one Lisbon for my example. This is also savings, and that I have 1,500 in there. That's the savings that I have with my boyfriend, for example. So I want to make sure that in my travel total savings, I account for that sum. So I would drag this one down here and make it sum together. So that at the end, I have a total of emergency savings of 8,000, total travel savings of 2,500, and just the total savings, which would include anything that is in my savings. So in this case, the travel savings, my couple savings, house down payment savings, and emergency fund savings. So this is basically telling me that I have 20,500 in savings. Again, this is hypothetical, but this is just how the tracker would work. And so obviously now that we increase some values in the other buckets for savings, we have a larger net worth listed here. And just for the sake of actually seeing something graphed on here, or more of a line, let's just make up some numbers here. So ideally, we want to make good progress or progress forwards. So let's say that in this one, we actually increased by 500, this one 3,000, and this one 3,500, just to make it simple. And this one 600, 700, 800. This one 100, maybe 300 or 500. This one, let's say that we are keeping the same. Oops, sorry. We're keeping the same on this one just to make it easier. See some variability there. This one 11,000, 12,000, 13,000. And this one, you continue to have 8,000 here, maybe 9,000 this month, and 10,000 this month. Because you're probably increasing your savings, your emergency savings, to now a 6 month of basic living expenses. This one, you have some gains and stuff like that. So this one would increase. Individual, maybe you remain the same because right now you don't have any extra cash to put into your individual brokerage account. And so, yeah, let me just quickly finish this. So, that makes okay. So as I showed you, this one we changed the summation formulas here, and it's as simple as dragging it over. So selecting all of it. So you click and hold, and then from here you just drag it over. And then you should be able to see the changes. Again, if you see this, it's because we need to adjust the width of the column. So just do a double click there, or you could just easily just drag the the column width. And so in this case, you're able to see that, okay, you're making good progress on your savings. It is increasing. You are making also good progress on your debt payoff. So your liability is going down from 15,000 to 14,000. And your net worth in return is obviously going up. So to be able to see this progress, so using this data that we have collected on every weekly basis, we go to our goals chart, and then we should be able to track our progress. So the more data you have in there, the more plotted information you're going to have in here. So you can see that your net worth started just over 30,000 here. And at the end of the month, you are at almost or just over 50,000. Okay. Obviously, this is a hypothetical example again, but that's basically how this tracker is going to work. On your emergency savings, you can see that it's also climbing up. So this too, you want to see climbing up. And on your debt tracker, you want to see it going down. So I'll probably like at some point insert what mine has been looking like for this year. And yeah, so that's how this information on your charts is going to be plotting into your chart here on this graphs. So yeah, make sure to look at it to give you that burst of motivation to continue doing this weekly check-in, because it's really important that you do this to be able to measure and see your progress. So yeah, that's basically my favorite part of doing this whole thing, is doing the charts and then seeing the progress on the charts, on the graphs that are located on the goals tab. And so these extra tabs here, the actions and goals. So goals is obviously a whatever you are wanting to accomplish, right? So for this one, it was an example of 3 months of worth of living expenses. This case was in a $5,000 example. Let's say to continue be consistent with our example earlier, let's do 8,000, and obviously a 6 month will be double that, so that's 16,000. So here you want to set down your list of goals for this year. If they're monetary, what due date you're giving yourself, and what action you're going to take. So for example, if you don't have any emergency savings yet and you want to reach that 8,000, and you want to be what do you call it? You want to be realistic with yourself and set a due date that is actually doable. So, say for example, by June. So, if you want to do that by June, starting the next year, so 2025, in January 2025, you have 6 months to accomplish this 8,000. So, you're going to have to divide that 8,000 by 6 months, right? So, what is going to be your total monthly contribution for you to be able to meet that goal? And so you'll write down here. So if you have what calculator, let's take calculator. So if you have 8,000 divided by 6, that means you need to make a total contribution to your contribution of $1,333 per month, right? And so now for you to be able to meet that goal, you know that you need to 1,333 monthly contribution per month. So when you go to your yearly spending plan on your savings section here, you want to make sure that you allocate $1,333 every month. So unless you're changing that goal, obviously. And yeah, that's how we're going to be using these four tabs together. So once you already have more information about how your spending is going, you want to go, for example, on your spending tracker. So after you already like track down your stuff with the information, you want to make sure that, for example, let's see how much until now have you spent on food, like groceries. Oops. Where did it go? You select all and deselect all, and you select food right here. Make sure you apply that filter. And so on this, in my case, I have spent, okay, that's not a lot, $77.27 on food to this day. So today is the 14th, 77.27, I think I said. And I gave myself $200 to spend in this month. This is actually quite low, and that is because I did have a lot of food. So we had potluck at work, and I can actually filter for that. So let me see on food, and we again select all, deselect all, and I'm going to filter for eating out because maybe that's why my total expenses for food has been low.
So, see, as you can see, I paid $60 for a potluck that we had for work. And because it was a potluck and usually there's extra food on the potluck at the work, I ended up with a lot of leftovers. So, I brought a lot of food back that until just recently I was able to finish. So, that is why we have a low expense for food so far. So to be able to know what your total expenses have or your total spending for that category has been. So for me, eating out is one of my categories. I just select all, click all, and that tells me that it is 87 and 65. So I go here to my spending plan and I write down 87.65. 87.65 so far. And that's actually over my allocated budget. So the idea of this tracker is to obviously set yourself a goal for what your budget is going to be each month based on your habits, and then from there just track what your current, so your what should be and your actual spending is looking like. And so in this category, for example, I am at 77, so I'm way under budget from what I had allocated, but I'm a little over budget for my eating out allocation. And so yeah, that's basically what we're how we're going to manage this tracker, and then continue to assess month by month what things we need to change, maybe what categories we need to add on our variable expenses, or if we acquire another fixed expense or something like that, so that we can are able to adjust our goals. So maybe once we realize that maybe we have more expenses than we can afford in order to have a $1,333 a month contribution for our savings, then we're going to have to be able to, make some changes. So maybe now we cannot afford, even though we would want to have an 3-month emergency savings by June, we cannot. We can only contribute a max of 500. And so that's what the chart is going to be helpful to help us determine what action steps we need to take to meet our goals. Obviously, from there, you can go and maybe make some more money or negotiate some bills and stuff like that. So, anything can be done once you are aware of your situation. And so, for me, because I'm a very forgetful person, I like to write down what things I need to do. So, for example, if I need to cancel my Prime membership, I write down cancel membership Prime, cancel Prime, let's say. And my due date would be just, I'm gonna give myself 1 week to do it. Oh, the 20th, 12/20, because let's say 12/21, it renews 12/20, right? And then my status, I'm gonna say it's open. I just like to track these things. So that's an idea for you to use this portion of the track. So yeah, that is pretty much it. So again, going back to the spending tracker, you can use the filters here to filter out whatever you need to get the totals for. So for example, on gas for this month, let's see how much I have spent. I have spent 90 something, 98.47. So I select these two, and then I see the summation here is 98.47. So I can go back to my spending plan and put down the 98.47. This is going to be changing every week as you go. It's just to give you a total. So like the idea is that on a weekly basis, you are making sure to record your transactions, add the totals, and update your budget to see that you are actually within your budget, or if you're going out of budget, adjust accordingly. Okay, so I think that's it for the introduction of the tracker. Let me know if you have any questions. And now let's just get back to how I approach my debt payoff with the information that I got from my tracker.
So to me, the reason that why this part of the tracker is Maybe one of the most, I mean, honestly, all of them are very important in their own way. But this one specifically, it tells me a summary, a total of my savings. And so, from the information that we have acquired while tracking our transactions and also developing our budget based on those transactions, then we should be able to say how much are our expenses in terms of needs of entertainment and stuff like that. So once we know our basic expenses, then we can calculate the amount that we need to have in our emergency fund at minimum. Typically what is recommended is a 3 to 6 month of basic living expenses. So that would include anything that you actually wouldn't want to be without in a month or 3 months of not having any income coming in. So for me, that was for sure obviously my shelter, my food, my basic needs, right? Anything that I consider being essential to me staying alive for 3 months if it need to be. And so that's what my first goal was, just to get to those 3 months. And if that seems still far away, just make sure that at least you shoot for 1 month, and then start making progress towards other goals that may be more helpful. So for example, one of the things that I did have up until recently, and I still have to, is debt. The beginning of this year, I had a huge amount of debt, and a big part of that was growing at a rate of like 20 something percent, and it didn't make sense for me to contribute as much to my savings goal, which I really wanted to get to 6 months of savings for this year. But it didn't make sense for me to continue to contribute to that savings fund for the 6 months, because the rate in which my debt was growing was much faster than that. It was outpacing whatever my emergency would cover. And so yeah, it's just allows you to get real with yourself, and if anything, at least it allows you to make a conscious decision about your next money move. So yeah, that's why before any debt payoff, I recommend that you have at least some sort of financial savings fund as a backup, because if you end up having to need car repairs or new tires or something like that, and you don't have the money to pay for that unexpected expense, then you're gonna probably have to resort to debt. And I tell you this from experience. I will probably talk about how my debt, or how I got to my debt, in a different video, because it's more of a personal thing. And if you're here to actually learn more about how to use the tracker, then you wouldn't be interested in that. So yeah, the thing is to have your emergency savings fund, and also create a strategy to help you pay off your debt. And one of the tools that I use to help me visualize the time frames without having to do like a lot of different calculations was to use the debt payoff calculator. I'll also have a link to that on the description box below, but there you can, after you fill out your tracker and you have all of your debts listed out with their corresponding interest rates, you can put that same information into the debt calculator debt payoff calculator, and then it'll tell you what steps you need to do, which one you need to pay off first, depending on which method you want to approach it by. So there's two very well-known methods. One is called the snowball method, and the other one is the avalanche method. And you can read up on it. I'll also leave some information down below where you can read more about it. But it's basically the snowball method. You start by paying off the smallest debt, and then once you're done with that one, you pay the next smallest debt. And so it sort of starts creating a snowball effect where you start with the small debt and then you finish paying off the bigger debt at the end. what this one does is it allows you to feel like a win in a short amount of time, regardless of any interest. You may have the smallest interest on the smallest debt, but the important thing is that you're feeling that you're making progress, a win, right? And so regardless, of basically you're paying your debt regardless of the interest rate, and you're paying it from smallest to largest to help you feel motivated to continue paying off. The cons of that is that you obviously end up paying more, you potentially end up paying more in interest than if you did the avalanche method. The avalanche method is you have your list of debt and you list them out by the interest rate, and you start tackling the one with the highest interest. And it could be a little overwhelming if the one with the highest interest is also the one with the highest balance, and it's gonna be kind of hard to see the progress initially. But the very good thing about this is that you end up paying less in interest as opposed to the snowball method. And I did actually approach mine in the avalanche method because I did not want to give any more money to the banks, and I just wanted to get it over. Seeing how much I paid in interest was more painful than any satisfaction I would get from using the snowball method. And so yeah, just reflect on your own how you would react to that, what will keep you motivated, because at the end, either way, if you're making progress towards paying your debt, that's better than nothing. And so just choose whatever actually suits you, and maybe a combination of both. Who knows? But yeah, that is the two methods that you can use to pay off your debt. And with that, make sure that you're celebrating your wins. Every month is going to be a win. If you're making a little bit of progress, it's also going to be a win. It's not going to be 100% every time. And I tell you, I missed at least 2 months where so to be able to pay off my 60% debt, I set myself a certain amount that I need to pay each month. And there were at least 2 months that I didn't meet that amount. And instead of, dwelling into, well, I didn't make it or whatever, if you have to do it, experiment the emotion of disappointment probably, but also take action in what you're going to do different to be able to meet your goals again. And I tell you, 80% is better than 0% progress. And so we're not shooting for perfection, we're only shooting for doing our best. So make sure to celebrate those little wins. Also, if possible, make sure to tell that to your closest friends or your best friend or your boyfriends, whoever is going to give you that motivation when you're lacking that motivation, and also keeps you accountable. In my case, my older sister and my boyfriend have been great motivators into continuing to pay off my debt. So whatever help you can get from outside in terms of accountability and also for celebrating your goals, make sure you use that to your advantage. And also, it probably goes without saying, but try to avoid new debt. So if you already have this debt, try to not increase any more on it. We're trying to decrease it, and hopefully, like I said, your charts will be able to tell you that, so that you can adjust your habits, your behaviors, in order to meet the goals that you really want to achieve. With that, I think we have covered the entire purpose of this financial game plan. I really hope that this tool serves you, that it helps you achieve your goals, whether debt payoff, asset, what do you call that? Increase in assets? Assets, assets. And net worth. Net worth is going to be one of my major goals next year. And also, I don't know. I mean, right now it feels a little bit like shooting for the moon, but I'm gonna do it and commit to paying off my debt next year for sure, and be debt free. The shooting for the moon part goes for trying to get it done by May, end of May, which is my birthday, and I think there's no more there's no other gift that I want to give myself than giving myself the debt-free status for my birthday. See, it doesn't cost anything to dream, so we're just gonna dream about that. We don't know if we're going to make it happen. It's gonna be a tough one, but you know, we shoot for the moon and we may as well just land in the stars. But progress is progress, and we're gonna do it together. So comment below any of your wins this year and what your plans are for next year, and let's keep each other accountable. And that wraps it up for me, guys. Make sure that if you want to get your hands on this tracker, that you go into my website, subscribe, and then I'll email the tracker to you. And yeah, let's keep each other accountable. I will probably have another video coming out with my goals for next year, and just a brief debt payoff step that I did, and that was very personal to me. And yeah, more travel content and more weekly check-ins and maybe just monthly resets. So thank you for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.